We are Social Blade.
Google is already taking real-time search from Twitter and now allowing you to replay it, very similar to replaying it in a cassette tape. It's called basically a timeline replay. That is, to me, this is absolutely brilliant. Again, from the data perspective. So Google is allowing people, and this is in beta, and of course it's going to be in beta for another 7 years. By the time Twitter's dead and gone, it'll still be in beta. But that's just my anti-Google thing. But no, seriously, when it comes to this replay feature, basically what you'll be able to do is you can pick out dates, times, look back, and see what has been tweeted, what was the buzz, what was happening. You could look back and find out, what was the sentiment in the country. When the healthcare reform, for example, the vote was happening, what was going on? What were people saying? Were they talking about aardvarks? Were they talking about Obama? Were they talking about Twilight? What was the sentiment? What was going on at a particular time and date? And they put it in a timeline format to where you can isolate things. This is going to be amazing. Not so much for I really don't think it's going to be so much wonderful for us as individual users. But A, from a historian perspective, B, from a just a data mining perspective, understanding what was the sentiment, and then what was the effect. How good was Twitter, and reading that Twitter sentiment at understanding what's happening in the real world and what the people are actually saying and thinking and talking about. That is where the nut is. That's where people are like looking back later and saying, "Man, this is a brilliant move by Google." And it was an expected move. Don't get me wrong, but this is something that to me This is the next phase. A few weeks back we had a guest talking about real-time search, and this is something that really helps on that regard. That was Sensei, and this is now with Google combining those two together. The kind of data aggregation, data migration, data storage, and being able to archive it and look at trends. Wowzers! That's all I got to say. Wowzers! It's amazing.
I got a quick question. Is it also going to, let's say, if you search Starbucks in Orange County? Will the map come up with the location of your Starbucks as well as the tweets that are happening real time, kind of like what you'd find on Foursquare?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, you can the way they have it situated, and that's a little bit separate from the timeline aspect of it. But the real time search was rolled out, and it won't just be Twitter. They've also got it set up to where it'll check on MySpace, Facebook, Google Buzz. They've got it set to where basically, in the expanded version of what used to be called universal search, you can, in theory, be able to get every bit of information that you need, regardless of your format, based around your own preferences. So you can actually see if you're looking for something, whether it's, even they were trying to buy Yelp, so we'll assume that reviews are included in there, maps results, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, Buzz, everything is going to be available. And available quickly, depending upon what you personally, as a Google user, like to see. Now, the only way you can do that is if you are a Google user. Otherwise, you get the default settings that everybody looks at. But I do have mine on my mobile device set up for that, and it's amazing. I'm sorry, it's just being able to see what's happening in real time has actually influenced my decisions in the past. Like, hey, let's go see a movie and just check on there, see what's going on. And we chose not to go see, what movie was it? I forgot. I don't even remember what movie it was, but we chose not to go see it based upon the sentiment that was happening on my mobile phone, on Google, based upon my preferences that I have set. So, yes, is the short answer. Jeff?
Yeah, real quick, I kind of want to hit on the business aspect of this. Think about it. Think about the positives and negatives this can have. For a negative, let's say you're running a local coffee shop and you have a certain person who works there who can't make coffee, worth a lick. And, everyone knows it. And they're tweeting, hey, don't go to such and such coffee shop because, so-and-so's working. Think about how that can impact your business. And then on a positive standpoint, you'd really just be able to promote yourself. You could essentially spam messages saying, hey, come to our place. We're promoting this. We're promoting that. We're promoting the other thing. How is Google going to be able to control those things?
Hey, Jeff. That's an interesting question, and actually, Google is actually, shockingly, they're not the first company to integrate some sort of sentiment-based, element into their search, specifically their real-time Twitter search. People browser, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe they were the first company to integrate an official sentiment, kind of facet to their real-time search engine, specifically their Twitter search engine. And the way they've actually combat stuff like that, because they've thought about that, they've thought about, all right, well, why don't we just flood Twitter with 1,000 accounts that we just made on saying, oh, well, our coffee is the best, our coffee shop's the dopest. The way they do it is they analyze things like weight of followers, so and things like ratio, like how many people you're following, how many people are following you. They basically created a separate type of algorithm to measure the influence, measure the quote unquote authority for these kind of things. So although I think gaming it's definitely possible. I think the real marketers out there are going to try to set their bases right, and really start a more organic sort of grassroots campaign that integrates accounts that have good follower ratios, that actually have some good velocity with their tweeting, because the chances of those getting indexed, chances of those results being aggregated to actually mean something is more likely when you use kind of real people with real influences, so to speak.
Well, I mean, as Greg says here in the chat, rather than letting other people give you an opinion of something, you should probably just experience it for yourself. I don't know. I mean, we like reviews. We like.
Yeah, I mean, let's
point,
say
but...
I haven't been to New York in like 5-6 years. Let's say I visit New York, and there's a restaurant that I've never even heard of, but I'm hearing from a lot of people, oh, you got to hit this place up. It's good. Things like Yelp, really do help. Foursquare even. Look at the tips. If it's a popular place, you can get access to basically other people's experiences through these mediums, and I can make my choice accordingly because, the ratings, the average 4.5-star rating just means that this is going to be awesome. We depend on these technologies so much to tell us what's good, what's not, because we don't want to waste our time trying everything out for ourselves. We just want to go right to the good stuff. And sometimes, these fields of audiences that have already been there, that have already rated the place, help us out immensely in those ways.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was going to say basically is that, we do rely on reviews. We do rely, and when we go see a movie, we like to know what other people had to say about it without having to waste the money. But, at the same time, I do think that we still need to take the time to experience it ourselves, but aren't we then going to go online and share it, which is kind of like a review. So it's kind of nice to have Google there to help us out.
Yay for Google!
Hey, Google! And Twitter.
Yay for everything. Roll with it.
Invading the internet, covering Web 2.0, coast to coast, worldwide, and everywhere in between. This is where you put the social in social media. We are Social Blade.